Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator, the podcast that celebrates the issues, events, and people that inform our common interests and shape our shared experience. Each week, we explore impactful topics with innovators, experts, and newsmakers who will inspire you to be a more positive and engaged member of your community. A few weeks ago, as you probably saw on TV, thousands of Haitian nationals were detained trying to cross the U.S.-Mexico border, and the vast majority were turned away, some very aggressively. This week's guest is Nadie Mondestin. She's the executive director of the Haitian Youth and Community Center of Florida. She'll share her thoughts on how the U.S. is handling the migration crisis and tell us about the crucial work she's doing here in Florida for her community next.
This is Common Denominator, straight-up conversations with Moshe Popack. Now, here's Moshe.
Hi, Nadie. Welcome to Common
Hi.
Denominator.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. I want to say thank you for all the work you're doing here in South Florida for the Haitian community and the humanitarian work that you're doing actually in Haiti itself. Let's start with what you're doing with the Haitian Youth and Community Center here in South Florida. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, we started since 2007. So what we do right now, we served approximately 272 children. More than that, about 400 children, because we do have federally granted program, we have private care, we have extended care, plus we have funding from Title I. So we have a comprehensive Head Start program where we serve the children from the third trimester. So we transition the children from home to the center. So the children are with us for the first 5 years, and then they transition to our Montessori kindergarten. And the program is technically free for low-income families. They have to be within the poverty guidelines in order to be accepted into the program. And we also have step-up program with Department of Education where we serve the kindergarten, and the Early Learning Coalition where we serve some of the refugee migrant students and working parents that are low income also to the program. So we've been doing this since 2007.
So I think that, first of all, anybody that's doing working with families and especially with youth is tremendous because that's the foundation of how, as humans, we move through the world, right? So especially the Haitian community, they've just had, as we talked before the show, just bad luck after bad luck, and the time is now. So the next, starting with the youth and the next generation, why do you find that it's so important? I see tremendous a need for the Haitian community wanting to come from Haiti to come to the United States. But what are the kind of core issues that you're seeing as reasoning for people to come?
Well, economic status, a better life, stability, and Haiti is a beautiful place. There's a lot of richness to Haiti. But at the same time, there's persecution, there's kidnapping, there's so much going on where if there was stability, I don't think no one would migrate to the United States. And when my parents moved, they wanted to go back. It's as we get older, they notice that, we didn't really speak Creole until later on and so on. So they decided to stay because of us. But when we got older, they went back.
Right.
But a lot of people come here to find a better status, economically, a better life, to raise their children in peacefully, and they do plan to go back because the majority of the parents that I serve and the Haitians that we know, they don't come here forever. They want to go back to the country. It's just the stability, the poverty, and the insecurity that's really dragging them to come to the United States. But most of them have their business. Some of them have business, and everyone in Haiti is a merchant.
Right.
So they can survive.
I know. It was interesting because I know with my wife's parents, they immigrated in 1979, from my mother-in-law from Tbilisi, Georgia, and my father-in-law from Tashkent, from Uzbekistan. And they always said, even in those years, they were very tight-knit community in Queens, New York, but they always were talking about they still had desire, let's say rise up economically, but they still had desire to always go back, to go back to their country because that's their pride, I guess. But they wanted to kind of raise up. And then, right, and then you have to deal with hurricanes. And obviously, you just had, I was so surprised to see this, another earthquake, right?
True.
Killing over 2,000 people. And then obviously in July, the assassination. Yeah, of the president. What was on the ground what was the feeling of the people, the Haitian people, when that happened?
Shock, very shocked, and dismay, disbelief. They would never thought that would happen, and it's a reoccurrence. So this is 21st century, and they were very upset and sad about the whole thing that happened, because no one wants to see the image of your country. Everybody's hope is they desire to go back, like you mentioned, with your parents. But at the same time, instead of getting better, it's getting worse. So that really torn us Haitians apart, because the image that we're seeing, it's really not the image that most of us who visit there, who goes there, know that, how the country, how it is. So with the earthquake that shattered more. A month later, the assassination took place in July 7th, and then August 14th, the earthquake. So it's like, what more? Enough is enough. We suffered and a lot, and then for this to happen. So my family's at the center was really hurt, and we were able to put together a group. And within 3 weeks, I was down there and providing, because we have 4 of our children that we sponsor that the house collapsed with. So we were able to do the funerals, provide humanitarian aid, and we had another 8 families that was total loss, no home. So we were able to provide tents and food for about a month. And then we served 200 people. That we give bags of foods, hygienes, products, and things to help them with the process. But still, where I went in the southern part of Haiti, they said that was the first help they were receiving from us.
And I want you to
imagine, yes.
Yeah, but I want you to know that this, even though nobody wishes it on anybody, but this resilience that the Haitian people have no choice to build up, especially in this kind of crazy world we live in. When I see it in my, I was telling you before, kind of in my real estate business, when I see how tight knit the family is and how everybody's working, bringing the money back home, and all sitting over a dinner table, and I watch it. I'm getting chills even now when I'm thinking about it, because I remember. When you see that, that's real. That's real. So that's the core. And when you have that, and we're seeing that less and less, kind of, everyone's expecting, everyone's entitled. But when you see, I know you're working with the youth. When you see that smile on those children, simple, nothing. They have a sandwich in their hand. They're able to get, you talk about, you give them that. Think about that. When you give them the hygiene products, right? You see them just glowing. I'm sure. Right?
They are just grateful and happy, because whatever it is, they are happy. Still, with all of this problem they're going to, they like you said, we are very resilient and strong, and we want to bounce back.
Yes.
And we are gonna bounce back somehow, some way.
And I read an amazing article in the Washington Post by the Prime Minister of Haiti, and he was saying how he wants to work himself out of a job, and that it seems like finally the members are coming together, to try to enact a new constitution, and next year to have a new presidential election. And that's right. So I'm just thinking about what are your thoughts on that?
It's everybody's hope to have a new president, to have election. But at the same time, the support, Haitian needs to make it decide for themselves, and they need to put their head together. He's trying, but I'm hoping that we can come to a solution. I'm hoping we can put our head together and make sure that, by next year we are more stabilized, that we have a president in place, and we have tourists back in the country, because Port-au-Prince, yes, it's the bottom part of where mostly everything are happening, but in the coastal area and the other side of Haiti, it's beautiful, it's peaceful.
Yeah.
It's just they need stability, they need job, they need work, and they need people to invest in the country. And believe me, you're gonna see the migration gonna really slow down
And
when we are stable.
And it's interesting, most people, and only I realized recently, that's actually land connected to the Dominican Republic, right?
Yes.
Right? And think about, I know many people go and visiting Dominican on vacations, and look at that, right? So you have, the juxtaposition of the two. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is mind blowing because it's walking distance from the border. Because I've been to Cape Haitian and I just crossed a bridge and I'm in Dominican Republic.
Yes.
And when you go to the other side, it's totally different.
Right.
And why can't we be the same? Why can't we have that stability? Why can't we have the investment? Why can't we have people, help?
How did
investing.
and we saw a few weeks ago, at the U.S.-Mexico border, right? Was it like 30,000 Haitian refugees coming over? How'd that affect you? What was your feelings then?
We were, as Haitian, we feel very distracted and sad by the inhuman, I'm sorry to say, racist, imperialist, and colonist treatment of our Haitian children and families, brothers and sisters. But it was ill treatment inflicted. But I'm not too sure that the United States was really ready for that amount of migrants. But at the same time, I don't know if they have a system in place. Now it's more stabilized. But it was, I was really hurt.
Yeah.
Just the look, it brings back memories by reading books and, but I'm not too sure if it was meant to be or not, but better treatment they should have handled the situation better.
And just what does the journey look like? If my family decided, you know what, I'm in Haiti, I want to get this better life in America, I'm going to make that journey. What does that look like? What is
Well,
person
this
doing?
is from what I hear from the parents that and we have parents that have family members that are impacted. They have to pay $10,000 to cross. Some of them had to take a plane from Chile to Chile. They have to go to Panama. They have to go through the jungle. Some of them were raped. A lot of them did not make it. And from Panama to the river, to the jungle, to Colombia, and then to Mexico. So it's traumatizing, not only for the families, for also the children that had to go to that step. Because I don't know how would I handle it, because by listening to testimonies from family members, I said, wow, they had endured a lot, and then come to the border. This is the treatment you get. You're thinking you're crossing, you're going to get a better life at, United States. And then the treatment you get was, not welcoming. But I understand there's rules and laws in all countries, but there should be a better approach to the situation and assess the situation. And then from there, instead of just letting them be there next to the river, rain, some of them with the children, the treatment was very ill.
To your point, I saw a BBC report. Let me just read this to you. Migrant rights group estimate that in Mexico, as many as 80% of Haitian migrants have been victimized, extorted, or abused on their journey, many of them by the police and the immigration authorities.
There was a lot of abuse throughout the 3 months traveling from where they came from to the border. Imagine, and most of them said they eat leaves and water, and they had crackers, and some had juice, and it's sad listening to the what they went through, and then come to the border and that treatment again. So it's sad.
How do you think the U.S. could have handled the situation a little better?
Well, just like Cuba, a lot of them went to. There was a group that went to Cuba and also the Bahamas, so they were able to take care of them, including the medical needs, especially for the pregnant women, children, and people with chronic illnesses. And then there was a partnership, a national commission that made up state agencies, and Red Cross responded to the logistics standard procedure to support Haitians to ensure, the commitment that they have. Some of them serve after they process them, so to safe return to Haiti.
Wow.
So some, but I guess they were better prepared. And the Bahamas also had the same treatment. But there has to be a due process.
I was just saying,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, surprising. You mentioned Cuba, right? Look at this.
Yeah.
Cuba so backwards economically and what we hear as Americans.
True.
But here we are speaking, and in reality, what are you telling me? You're telling me that Cuba did a pretty good job. That's surprising to me. Wow. Right?
Yes, they did. They did process them because I had several people that I've talked to. Yeah. And they did. They did return safely. Some of them. They returned them to Haiti, but there was a process in place. They had a procedure that they followed.
So just to come full circle, what are some of the most important things that the people in Haiti need in their country in order that they don't feel that they have to pack their bags and migrate from where they are?
A safe home. Education, and economic status. Because if Haiti is stable right now, I bet you're not going to have a large migrant population. Yeah. If there's security, less kidnapping, you're not going to see a large migration. So all Haitians, all families that I spoke to, that this is their desire for Haiti to become the Haiti they used to know before the 1980s.
Yeah, and I love across the boards the work ethic. The work ethic. They want to make a better life. Parents, they do whatever it takes to make a better life for their family. So I want to applaud that, and better days are ahead. And I want to say thank you so much for taking the time. And how could people find out more about the Haitian youth and community?
Well, they can go to our website, hyccf.org. We also have a Facebook, and they could link on the website so they could view, see the activities that we're doing on a monthly basis, and the activities that we're doing in Haiti, in Florida, in the United States, so they'll have an idea of what's going on and the beautiful things that we're doing and the services that we're providing the community in South Florida and abroad.
Well, thank you so much, Nadie. It's really been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's a pleasure.
We'll be praying for Haiti. Thank you.
Pray for Haiti.
Thanks for listening to the Common Denominator podcast. Join us next week for another inspiring, impactful, and empowering conversation. To learn more about Moshe, head to MoshePopack.com. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it. And we'd be grateful if you could rate, review, and subscribe to the show.